Welcome back. Happy Sunday. This week we are continuing on in our book, I Am, 40 Reasons to Trust God. And this week we're going to be looking at the life of David before he was King David. And the name of God that we're going to talk about is the Lord my Shepherd. And it is pronounced Jehovah Roi. It's kind of a funny sounding one. Jehovah Roi, the Lord my Shepherd. And the name of our story is A Shepherd for a King, from 1 Samuel 16 through 17 and Psalm 23. David, the youngest son of Jesse, lived in Bethlehem. He had 7 older brothers. 3 of them were soldiers in King Saul's army, but David tended his father's sheep. "This way, little sheep," David called, and his sheep twitched their ears. They recognized David's voice. "Bah, bah," answered the sheep. They nudged each other as they gathered together and followed David. He always took them somewhere good. Sometimes David took the sheep to a sunny pasture with delicious green grass for them to eat. Sometimes he found quiet streams of clear water where they could safely drink. And on hot days, he found cool, shady places where the sheep could lie down and chew their cud and take a nap. David rubbed their noses with oil first to keep the flies away. While the sheep rested, David played his lyre and he sang to them. David loved God, and all his life he wrote and sang songs to God to praise him. One of David's songs begins like this: "The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He gives me rest in green pastures. He leads me to calm waters. He gives me new strength." Wild animals sometimes roamed through the countryside where David tended his sheep. And sometimes David had to fight off a hungry lion or a bear looking for a lamb to eat. He would save the lamb and bring it back to the flock. At night, David kept his flock safe in a fenced-in space with a fire to keep wild animals away. One day, God told the prophet Samuel to go to Bethlehem to see Jesse, David's father. "The next king of Israel will be one of Jesse's sons," God said. Samuel traveled to Bethlehem and invited Jesse and his sons to a feast. When Samuel saw Jesse's oldest son, he thought, "Oh, this must be the one that God has chosen." But God said, "No, he is not the one. He is handsome, but I don't judge by how someone looks. I care about their heart and how someone thinks and acts." Samuel met 6 more brothers. "God hasn't chosen any of these," he said. "Are all of your sons here, Jesse?" "There is one more, the youngest," Jesse said. "He is out in the fields keeping the sheep." "Send for him and bring him here," Samuel said. "We won't eat the feast until he comes." Jesse sent for David, and when David came in, God told Samuel, "This is the one." Samuel poured oil over David's head as a sign that David would be the next king of Israel. So what does it mean? Have you guys ever seen sheep? Sheep are not very smart, and they need a lot of help. And like David in our story was a shepherd, he would make sure that they had food and that they had water to drink. He would keep them safe from the lions and the bears, and he would keep them from falling off cliffs and wandering away. We don't have a lot of shepherds in the world today, especially in America, so we often use something else. So I thought this week, you guys have seen Charlie on screen before. I thought we would invite him to join us because in America today, we usually use dogs to herd our sheep. So, Charlie, can you come here? Come on. Can you come here? Oh, good boy. Come on. Come on over. Can you say hello? You're showing everybody your rear end. Nobody wants to look at that. Can you show them your face? This is my puppy, Charlie. And Charlie is an Australian shepherd. And Australian shepherds and border collies are famous for herding sheep. One of our favorite things to do in the summer is go to the Genesee Country Village and Museum right there in Mumford for the agricultural fair. and watch the dogs herd sheep. And when they're young, when they're puppies, they're always right behind it. So as the sheep is running away, the puppy is like nipping right at its heels. But as the dogs get older and they get more experience and they become better shepherds, they can be really far away from the sheep and they still have control. They still are taking care of those sheep, right? They do all the work for the rancher or the farmer, and they keep the sheep in safe areas and they move them through the fields well. So Charlie is our example. We don't have sheep. We have talked about getting Charlie a couple sheep just for fun, huh, Charlie? But come here. He's very distracted because Pastor Caleb is right there. He's like, hey, how come everybody's not with me? But we don't have any sheep. So instead, Charlie herds us. And he follows us around the house, and he tries to move us into rooms where he wants us. And he does the same thing with the cats. They're not always behaving, and Charlie likes to make sure that they are listening too. Aren't you? Trying to keep everybody in line. All right. So just like David was a shepherd and was watching out for sheep, and Charlie and other sheepdogs watch out for sheep, we meaning people, often act not always in the best ways. And we need a shepherd. We need somebody to watch out for us, somebody to guide us, to give us wisdom, someone to care for our needs. And that person for us is God. God is the Lord, our shepherd, and he is watching over us and taking care of us. All right, so we're going to end with our prayer here. Dear God, you are the best shepherd that I could ever have. Thank you for watching out for me and for taking care of me. In your name, amen. And I'm going to close with a quote from Jesus. Jesus said, "My sheep hear my voice and they follow me." From John 10, verse 27. And that's us, right? We need to be listening for his voice and following him. Well, thank you for joining me again this week. We wanted to do a song about King David. It's called Only a Boy Named David, and it was something that was new to Pastor Caleb, but is actually a song that I know from my childhood. So we didn't have time to learn it to perform, so we're going to share some of your favorite VeggieTales characters doing this song for us. So if you want to click on to the next link and join them in song. See you next week.